about you as American gangster or the last American poet? What about you in the text of documenting and, talking about issues and social justice issues and creating narratives?
Well, the quick answer to that, or the easy answer to that, is you got to get the book. But the other way, because it's all in the writing.
Where can you find that book? Where is it sold?
It's on my website. My website is nicknickers.com.
Okay, so I'm on Saatchi Art.
Saatchi Art, yeah. I got a lot of work on there. Have you seen that?
I have it up. I'm sharing your website on our chat.
Yeah, I've got a lot of great work on there, man. That's just like kicking it in my house right now, So I want to get that out. But you can get a lot of, and I have different works on Nick Knickers too as well. Nicknickers.com. It's real simple. It's NICKERS.com. And there's, you can type in the search bar "The Last American Poet," and I've got that and two volumes of poetry with that Last American Poet and Last American Poet Now and Then, Volume 2, about 300 poems. And then I got Filthy Clean, which has got about 110 poems in it. And both of them, they're like $10 or something. And I still get to this day. I made the Last American Poet. I finished that in 2013. I still get people saying I love the book today, so that's pretty cool. And I often, as you know, used to put that up, some little phrases and little word works, little poems up on the streets, a la Basquiat kind of. I used to put poetry out there. I got video of that. That's on YouTube. And there's also another really cool thing on YouTube about that, and I'll be as brief as possible as I can about this. But there is a guy who saw my poetry, a stand-up comic who saw my poetry out on the street, and he did a whole entire 15-minute bit about my poetry and my writing and stuff, and just tore me to pieces, like comedically. He just like made fun of me for 15 minutes. And it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my entire life, personally, because it was a dude ripping me live on stage for 15 minutes. It's the greatest commercial ever. And everybody I send it to and show it to is like, oh my God, that guy totally tore you up and made fun of you and everything. And I'm like, isn't it awesome? And they're all like, no, not really. I'm kind of like, I want to beat him up. You know what I mean? And I think it's the most phenomenal thing out there. So you could put The Last American Poet into YouTube, The Last American Poet, and his thing will come up. And it's probably the funniest thing ever, especially if you know me. It's really good. I really liked it.
I'm posting a couple of your links right now. That's what I'm doing. I don't know if you see it on the chat. But
I don't know if I'm talking too much or not enough, or if,
Hey, you know what? It's your studio time. It's time to promote yourself, the space that you're doing. You want to talk a little bit about the Pink Gun series that you were advertising?
Yeah, that's kind of under the label of Nick Knickers now. The Pink Guns was an anti-gun violence clothing line. Is not the proper term. Is the proper term. The Pink Guns, we don't fashion violence, is our motto. And Pink Guns is for everybody, for kids, men, women, children, everybody. It's just a clothing line to kind of represent that you are against gun violence. And it's a pretty simple concept. I mean, the line doesn't say that we're against guns. It says that we're against gun violence, and we don't fashion violence. So we're not anti-gun at all. But basically, it's a pink gun, literally a pink AK-47 is the label, similar to the polo horse and polo player. We just have the pink gun. And, I have, it hasn't gotten out there as best as it could, and the ideology hasn't been promoted as best you know, is in my best interest, or in I don't know how to say this, but like it just hasn't been that quite that successful as I would hope it be. Because what I would like to do with it is take it and use it to assist people who have been affected by gun violence. But when I sell 1 or 2 T-shirts, it's basically at cost. You know what I mean? I'm not doing so hot with it. If I can get that ball rolling and kind of get people behind that and support that, that would help out people who have been affected by gun violence. And that's kind of a broad term, but in reality, there's ideas behind it. Keeping kids off the streets, one of them. Keeping kids engaged rather than being on the streets and being influenced by, you know, opportunities where they'd be using guns to kill people, you know, especially here in Chicago. It's really kind of close to my heart, the gun violence that's here. And I think it's also my fault that that particular clothing line hasn't been as successful. I don't think I've really pushed it. But, you know, there's things like basketball tournaments or events, people we can hold with that clothing line that'll keep people off the streets, you know, and sort of engage, teaching people how to do the silk screens and work with computers and stuff and make their own imagery. Can keep, you know, which ironically this space would be perfect for if we were to introduce Pink Guns as a way to represent and get kids in here after school, which nobody, you know, school's tough enough. So after school, getting people to do a 45-minute after school program. But if you get interesting stuff like learning how to silk screen, you know, as an artist, that'd be great because we can make Pink Guns t-shirts and represent the clothing line and your ideology as we don't fashion violence. And different things we could do. There's a lot of things we could do in here, which is kind of what I talked to them when I first talked to them, the people who own and rent the space or rent or own the space, and that's the Redeemer Church in Park Ridge, Illinois. And this place is called Third Place Chicago. Mm-hmm. And here at Third Place Chicago, it's a community center for the community to kind of meet and get together and talk. Literally, that's what it was for, so that the neighborhood can come together and talk. That's this meeting space for that. So it's open during the week for that. People can come on by and check out the art and talk to somebody. There are spiritual advisors here. There's a financial advisor here. There's people here. There's coffee here. There's water. And there's art, obviously. And I think, you know, as we wrap all that up, that this would be a great space to do an after-school program for kids to learn silk screen or watercolors, or, you know, how to use different techniques in art, to printmaking, you know, stuff
and
like that.
I think that a lot of the artists I'm talking to are trying to, again, find ways to reinvent themselves in the era of Zoom school. So, I mean, that's a great opportunity to, you know, get an audience on Zoom where you're actually showing, you know, silk screening techniques. It's nothing like, of course, people being within the space and learning one-on-one, but, you know, the conditions don't warrant it. Right. So trying to look at other ways and thinking of entrepreneurialism and how you can, you know, create revenue, you know, for your space. And I think that's a great way that you're going with it, to talk about it and explore, you know, how can I offer this and what population can I offer it to? And then, you know, so again, that's another thing that I think that you could think about, you know, for a revenue stream.
Yeah. And and what's great about that, I mean, look at, you've got that whole area there. This thing's big, as I showed earlier, and tons of tables and chairs. You know, and what's great about that, when you say revenue and stuff, it's actually, ironically enough, can be pretty lucrative. But the church, the Redeemer Church in Park Ridge, that rents the space, and their idea is basically it's for the community and it's free. And if we can do some parties here, that people can rent it out to have it for themselves and have it private, then we can take care of the overhead. By no means do we need the profit, but if we can pay for the space, you know, that would, if the community can have parties once a week and it would pay for the space, and then it would keep it open for everybody. Do you know what I mean? And you can have private events there. That's really the main goal, and Redeemer's really been really about that. And so have I, you know, and I live right across this, there's a park right here called the Wilson Park. We're right across from Wilson Park on Milwaukee Avenue, and I live right across the park. So this is, I mean, you know, I love the fact that they have this here with or without my art, you know, but the fact that I am the, you know, semi-private collection going on here is definitely key. It's pretty awesome. So I'm really, really grateful for that.
It's very awesome. Sometimes you run across these unexpected lucky breaks. When the Phantom Gallery with the International Art Group were over on Damon and Bartow and North Center, the realtor lent us that space for 10 months. You know, and it was over 2,000 square feet. He didn't charge us at all for that space. Upgrades, we kind of did upgrades while, with the flooring and the bathroom, and he got all of that ready. And what happened was, it's a win-win. You're showing the space, it's empty, right? And potential renters or leasers will come in and,
yeah, that's what we talked about, right?
The realtor doesn't even have to be boots on the ground showing the space, and we kept it warm, paid overhead utilities, to keep it warm and to keep the energy in there. And it eventually was rented to a theater company, but it was a good run. It was 10 months, and a lot of, shows happened there, and a lot of, we even had an international exhibition there from Ecuador. And their president came into the space to talk about the alliance between Chicago and Esmeralda, Ecuador. So we are on a virtual tour. We just dropped in to, say hi and to check out your pop-up and, look at your art. So again, thank you for joining our virtual trolley tour.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm super,
all right,
super stoked about it.
Let's talk again on November 20th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Join us for another virtual trolley tour with the Bronzeville Art District. Our sponsors are, I got to put a plug in for our sponsors. AARP has enabled the Bronzeville Art District to program through December. All right,
well,
you guys
love it.
And
thank you for having me. I'm glad we got to show off the spot.
Great. See you later.
See you.